Oh, we're live in a minute and 58. Um,
She's a winner. And welcome to the Intuitive Entrepreneur Show, where we bring enlightened entrepreneurs, coaches, and influencers together to discuss cutting-edge topics for the world of relationships, culture, business, and spirituality. Here's your host, Max Anjanetta Jones.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Carol's Courage to Confidence segment of the Intuitive Entrepreneur Show. Now, though you guys that follow me know I'm your weather girl. So when you chime in on the comments, let us know where you're chiming in from and what the weather's like where you are. I'm so excited today. Well, not only because it's gorgeous and sunny here, but I've got three amazing women that I'm looking forward to speaking to. We're going to start by going around the horn and letting you introduce yourself and tell us what you're up to in the world. Let's start with you, Caroline.
Hi, thanks so much for having me. I am a dietitian based in Northern Virginia. I was just telling you it is beautiful here today, which is super fun in February. But yeah, I'm a dietitian. I work with women who want to learn how to stop dieting and find confidence with food.
Awesome. Thank you so much. How about you, Janet?
I split my time actually between Canada and the Metro Detroit area in Michigan. And the weather is about the same in both places, which is currently sunny and not super cold. I am an intuitive coach, divine channel, energy healer, medium, and author. And I help people discover and reconnect with their souls so that they can connect with their soulmates and live a soul-led life.
So does part of that include being a dating coach when you say connect with your soulmate?
It's about making yourself available to the love that you want and deserve.
Awesome. Thank you. Anna, tell us about you.
Yes, my name is Anna Workman. I'm from Indiana, and the weather here is warm for us. It is 48 degrees, and that's good for Indiana. And I am a speech therapist. I also hire speech therapists and place them in school districts. And I help speech therapists become six-figure earners in top speed.
That's awesome. What a unique niche. One of the first question I want to throw out to each of you, when you look at working with your clients, how do you define success? So Caroline, let's start with you. How do you define success in working with your clients?
Yeah. Oh my gosh. This is probably a nuanced answer, right? But, I work with clients over months and months, and some clients even years. So for me, it really does come down to like small goals that feel very attainable, very achievable. And I always tell new clients, especially with nutrition, right? Like you think about your classic dietitian. A lot of times people have a pretty negative association with that image because it's somebody who's kind of like the food police, or they're going to tell them all the things they're doing wrong and what they shouldn't be eating. And so there's a lot from what I do, and I work with a lot of disordered eating and eating disorders. So I'm oftentimes seeing people after they've kind of been through the system, so to speak. They've seen a lot of dietitians, they've had a lot of nutrition counseling. So for me, success is actually getting those small wins under their belt, like actually getting them to have a good experience with food, even in those, daily little moments. So
Awesome.
Could talk forever about that. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you so much. Trust me, I'm going to tie all this in when we start doing this. So Janet, tell us how you define success with your clients.
For me, it's sort of like watching a flower bloom. So a lot of my clients, when they first come, they're not very sure of themselves. They've been through a lot. They're unhappy, they're stuck, and just watching them connect to themselves and then connect to other people, build relationships, build the life that they have envisioned, but never have been able to, create for real. So it's watching my clients bloom.
That actually feels good when you say the word bloom, right? It actually feels good. Anna, tell us how you define success.
Well, I define success when my SLPs go from being underpaid and stressed to well paid and blessed. And I say that because I've been there before, where you are in school, and I think most people that work in school districts feel this way, where you are overworked, and it's a lot of paperwork, a lot of students, and you just become really overwhelmed. And to top that off, there's very little pay. So all of that combined, it can be very stressful for teachers, but I work with speech therapists, for them as well, to the point where I have had therapists even go to the ER because of stress, and all of that, even though like the work will still be there. Now going from the average pay is 50 to 70K for a speech therapist in the country, and only 10% of all speech therapists make 6 figures. So I want to get them there. With my help, I know I can get them there. So they
Awesome.
can feel a little better about what they do.
So a common theme that ran through those answers was clients can get into overwhelm, right? They get into overwhelm and they get stuck. So there's a pretty well-known coach, runs about a $6 million business coach. And I've heard her say that there's no such thing as overwhelm, that she teaches her clients, when they say I'm overwhelmed, she said, nope, you're either unprepared or uncommitted. I'd love to get your feedback on that. Unprepared or uncommitted? Caroline.
Oh my gosh. Well, I work with women who have gone through so much trauma around food, and the reason that they make choices that they make is sometimes so subconscious, or it's, goes back to childhood. So for me, even hearing that, like thinking about some of my clients, yes, maybe at times they are very unprepared and it's hard to commit, but I think there's so much other stuff going on for them that prevents them from feeling like they can be prepared or feeling like they can commit. So I think there's a lot of work to even do before you get to that point.
Makes total sense. How about you, Janet?
To me, that honestly sounds like somebody who's coming from a very privileged position of being neurotypical and not having any mental health issues. Any of us who struggle with depression or anxiety or any of the above, you can be, as prepared as you want to be, but there are days when life is just overwhelming because we don't naturally have the capacity to deal with certain things. So yeah, it would be great. It would be great to live in a life where that's true, where all you have to be is, prepared and what was the other one?
Committed.
Prepared and committed, and then everything just happens. But that's not the case.
That would be so simple.
Yeah.
Wouldn't that be simple? Exactly. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I threw this out there to kind of stir up some conversation. So, because the first time I heard it, I thought, but actually, I'll tell you, and then I want to hear what Anna has to say. I actually will tell you that sometimes if I feel like, oh my God, how am I going to get all this done? I go, wait a minute. And I ask myself, what one place, because I teach and train on empowering questions, right? Because the questions are the answers and they're specific and time bound. And I'll just ask myself, what one place am I not prepared that if I were to get prepared, right? And then I finish the sentence, or what one place am I not acting in commitment that if I were to do that would, and then I put in the result that I'm looking for. And that actually helps me calm my mind. And it actually helps me be much more specifically focused so that I can take action and not be stuck. Anna, what are your thoughts?
Well, I think that's a great point, and I've never heard of that, and I love it. The overwhelm, feeling unprepared and uncommitted when you feel overwhelmed. And I see it as like similar to feeling nervous and excitement, which is the same feeling. Feeling nervous, feeling excited is the same feeling. The only difference is when you are nervous, you don't know the outcome. And when you're excited, you know the outcome. You know what's going to happen. So when you're feeling that overwhelmed, you don't know, the unprepared is you don't know what you need to do to get to the next level. And also, you're not committed. Like the first step with anything is to make a decision. And sometimes we know we don't want to be in this place wherever we are, but we had not made a decision to grow. And once we make a decision, then we can move forward, right?
Right.
I love even, adding on to Anna what you said, and then kind of Carol, that ties into what you said, because you took being unprepared and uncommitted and broke it into what's one thing I can do to be more prepared, to be more committed, which really removes the overwhelm, ironically, because it's like, okay, just one thing. And now I have a direction and I know where I'm going. And that's such a subtle change, but so different. Like it really would take, I think, for a lot of my clients, the shame. And because if you're like overwhelmed and then you hear someone be like, well, you're just uncommitted. Well, now I'm overwhelmed and I'm not committed. Great. Like, thank you. So yeah, I love that you took that and like just gave it a lot of direction and made it so tangible, so applicable.
Thank you. It's really powerful when people really learn how to frame questions, right? I gave a keynote at Ryder Trucking a couple of weeks ago on leadership and empowering questions and the things that I teach on. And it was really quite fascinating when I gave them an exercise to do, and I went around to the different tables to coach them, right? Through this exercise, how frustrated they were because I put a CFO at the table, right? There was the CFO, and that CFO was supposed to give the rest of the people resistance to the proposal that they were trying to sell. And what was interesting is they kept wanting to say, well, why not? And why is the most disempowering of all things. An empowering question never starts with the word why, ever. Think about it. How many of you have children? Right? Me either. But I had one of my clients go, Carol, my kid says why to me all the time. I said, of course they do. They don't know how to articulate the question to get what they really want, right? Because why brings in defensiveness, which then brings in the ego, which brings in emotions. And when emotions goes up, intelligence goes down. Now think about how that can apply to each one of your clients, right?
Absolutely.
When and it's not you're saying why to your client. Sometimes it's your client saying why to themselves, like, why do I do this? Why not, right? What do you think about that?
Oh my gosh. Well, what you just said, when emotion goes up, what did you say? Logic goes down?
Intelligence goes down.
Intelligence goes down. Yeah. Well, and even what we know about the brain, when we're so activated and heightened in an emotional state, we're using actually like a very old reptilian part of our brain. We're not using the new critical thinking, like super intelligence that we have in the modern world. So it's almost like a switch, like you turn one on and the other one turns off. And that applies, I think, to so many different situations working with people.
How about you other two ladies? Do you get in situations where your clients are saying, why can't I do this? Why am I not there already? Why am I not making this much money already?
Oh, all the time. Yeah. And it's interesting, like if you think about relationships, a lot of times, you get so emotionally attached to this person and they may be very bad for you. You're not a good match. They don't respect and love you unconditionally. They're not supporting and encouraging you in all the right places. So like that logical part is just not there. You're not seeing that because you have these other emotional attachments to this person. So it's really interesting how that works in kind of all situations.
It's so true. Years ago, I was in my last relationship was very toxic. And I can't tell you how many times I would say, stop disrespecting me, right? But pattern continued until the day that I realized that because there was no repercussions of her behavior, it was me that was disrespecting me, right? And that changed everything. But those emotional ties did not allow me to see that for a long time. So I'm totally agree with you. How about you, Anna?
Yes, yeah. I do have some of those limiting beliefs. That's how I call them. When they are saying, why is this not working for me? Or why am I living this life? A lot of times they think this doesn't work for me. It works for other people. It's for someone else. It's not, it won't happen. It's not in the cards for me. For whatever reason, I don't have what it takes to get there. But I think a lot of that is their own, their own limiting beliefs. Sometimes they're their own enemy. And that's something that is so hard because that's a mindset.
Yes.
And if you are not able to change that, to break that, then you will stay in that little bubble and not grow. So that's part of the program, is to let's change that mindset. Let's grow. And we do that by getting outside of our comfort zone. That's where we grow.
I totally agree with that. I would love to go around the horn and take what you just said, Anna, and have each one of you tell, not just me, but our audience, because there's going to be a lot of people watching you guys, reaching out to you. What's one of the top things, whether it's a thing or a tool, that you use to help your client change their mindset? Anybody can jump in. Like, what's one of the top tools to change mindset?
For me, my clients struggle with all or nothing thinking. That is like the number one thing with nutrition that keeps people feeling stuck, because you have one quote unquote bad day of eating and you call off your diet. You totally go on a bender, you go off the rails, fall off the wagon, right? We have all these sayings that even describe that all or nothing experience of when we quote unquote fall off. So for me, I'm always working with people to recognize that moment. And this is the hardest thing to do, I think, is in the moment being able to pause and say, this is the moment that I would usually quit or call it off. And I'm going to choose not to do that. And I think that sounds so easy for me to say, so hard to implement, and so hard to get buy-in on that concept when you are in that really heightened emotional state. You have no intelligence to be like, I'm just going to keep on trucking here, follow the plan or whatever it is. So for me, it's just kind of rewiring our brain. And I don't know that I have like the perfect tool to explain how we do that, but it is lots of sessions over many, many weeks and months where we're kind of like retraining ourselves to break that all or nothing thinking.
Absolutely. As a leadership coach, one of the questions that I give my clients that they keep in front of them, I have them printed out, tape it up, right? And think about this for your clients, Caroline, when you talk about all or nothing thinking, they get to ask themselves, how would the person I want to become do the thing I'm about to do right now? Yes. I honestly believe if we all did that on a regular basis, this would be a different world, right? We would make better choices. We would. Yeah. How many people would stop watching Netflix during the day, right? Is that the person I want to become? Yes. It's a powerful question that we get to put in front of our clients. How about you, Janet?
Yeah. For me, it's actually energy healing. Or energy clearing. So all of these old habits and thought systems and beliefs are all present in our energy. Okay. So when I can get in there and work with their energy and help clear all of that stuff out, it makes the newer habits and the, acting as the person we want to be so much easier, because we're not weighed down with all of that stuff that we don't want anymore. We're trying to get rid of it. And I just help that process by clearing out their energy to create space for the new mindsets, habits, actions, all of that to come in and really integrate.
I'm going to come back to you in a minute and ask you about the violet flame. I just learned about that yesterday, so hold on. Anna, how do you help your clients with mindset changes?
Yes. And this is that's like the number one thing in anything new that you do, right? And so I tell them to embrace their challenges. Challenges are good because in challenges we grow, and we need to grow, like I was saying earlier, in order to get to the other side. And if we don't grow, we stay, like I said, in our comfort zone, and we stay there, and that's comfortable there. It's safe, it's warm, it's cozy, but we don't grow. And that's the only way to get, like I said, to the other side is to go through these challenges. And we all have them, we all face them, but we either do nothing or we actually face them, just go through them, through this ring of fire. That's what I call it, the ring of fire, because it's painful sometimes to go through this, outside of your comfort zone. But then when you're facing them, I tell them, when you face that challenge, whatever that is in your day, day to day, sometimes, okay, this is happening to me. You have to think, that little mind that's saying, don't do this. This is not for you, or whatever it is. That little mind is there to protect you. Mm-hmm. So you need that little mind saying, you can't do this, because then you can go turn to that mind and say, thank you, but I am going to grow. Thank you for allowing me to grow, because like without that little mind, I tell people, without that little mind, we won't grow, because we need that. I feel like we are the protagonist of our own story. And that little mind that's telling us you can't do it, it's not for you, is the antagonist. And every good story needs both. So you need that person. You need to say no, or that challenge that comes with you or happens day to day, to actually, move on and grow and get to where you need to be. So, even though it's hard to embrace them, I tell them to think whatever it is. Like, thank you for trying to protect me, little mind, but I can do this. Let's move forward.
I totally agree with you. I tell my clients to just look up and go, thanks for sharing, but I'm going to go this way. Right?
Thank you.
Any more thoughts on that, Caroline?
No, I love that. I love it all.
I love calling it the little mind. It's a great term.
Yes, we all have that voice inside of us that's doubting or denying that you can do something. So it's just getting in touch. And I think you're so wise to acknowledge it. Like, so often we just want to suppress it, like, go away, stop. But just being like, no, like, I know you're trying to look out for me. You're trying to protect me. You've done a good job in the past, but we're not doing that anymore. We're doing something different now.
Exactly. Come get on board, because I'm in charge.
Yeah.
You look at, it was in Napoleon Hill's, I've got it right here, Napoleon Hill's master course book. I don't know if any of you've read that one. Most people have read Think and Grow Rich. But in his master course book, he's teaching a class at college. And he tells these people who are in this class complaining, well, you have exactly what you want. And they're like, no, I don't. And he goes, yeah, you do. Because if you're not directing your subconscious specifically as to what you want, it's going to go find things to fill the void, right? So oftentimes we're not willing to own the fact that we're really 100% responsible 100% of the time. When you look at the 4 levels of responsibility, right? And so I think for some of my clients, one of the biggest leaps they make is when they can stop blaming the weather, blaming COVID, blaming the spouse, right? Because then they give up their power. So talk about that. When your clients go into blaming, like, I was born that way, or I've always been this way, how do you help them through a blaming situation and get them up the ladder of responsibility and owning that they're choosing? Anybody?
For me, I channel messages from spirit. So and from their soul. So when I'm tuned into their soul and I'm talking to them from that space, like, it knocks some sense into them. When they can hear directly what their soul is saying and is wanting and is desiring, they're like, okay, like, they just can't deny it anymore. Like, the excuses all just fall flat, and they recognize how thin those excuses are.
So you help them get clarity.
Yes.
And clarity is power.
Mm-hmm.
If we have time, I'll come back to the violet flame, but I want to make sure that each one of you has an opportunity to tell people how they can find you. If you've got a freebie that you're giving away, you can mention that as well. And then, like I say, the information will go across the bottom of the screen. Let's start with you, Anna. How can people find you?
They can find me at sixfigureslp.com. So I have challenges quarterly where they're free. So they can learn how to become 6-figure SLPs in 5 days. And if they want to continue working with me, then I also have an offer in that challenge. But it's a free challenge, a free workshop for them to learn in a a lot of them get so much out of it.
Did you say 6 figures in 5 days? I want to come. Do I have to be a speech therapist?
No, it's 6 figures. Is a 5-day workshop.
Oh. Oh, dang, I'm changing. I'm going to be a speech therapist. I can come to your course. Oh my goodness. How about you, Caroline?
You can find me at carolinethomason.com or on Instagram. I hang out the most, which is dietitian Caroline _ on Instagram. And if you want to schedule a free call to chat about your nutrition, you can do that on my website as well.
Fantastic. And if you look, your information's going across the bottom right now. So people will be able to see this in perpetuity. So you can't go anywhere, right? Janet, tell us about you.
People can find me at janetsandberg.com and on Instagram, janetsandberg.intuitive. And yeah, I have free calls. And if you sign up for my email list, you get freebies that way too. I also do free live channeled messages on my Instagram on an irregular basis. But if you check the profile, then you'll know when I'm going live next.
So it's kind of first come, first serve.
Yep.
Well, people can find me at carolboston.com. I am Queen of Reframe is one of the things I'm known for in social media. Teach and train on empowering questions in personal leadership. So feel free to reach out to me there. You can also get to me through this site here, my links. There'll be some other videos coming up that Max asked me to produce. So I look forward to helping and being of service to each of you. If y'all don't mind, I would love for Janet. Do y'all know what the violet flame is? Did anybody but me not know? See, I didn't know till yesterday. So we had just about 3 or 4 minutes. My back was injured years ago in a car wreck. So there I was Sunday, had my foot up there, shaved my leg, went to stand up to shave the next leg. My back was not having it. I still have one shaved leg and one unshaved leg. Oh. So for the next 3 days, I'm flat on my back in the bed in pain. So today, if you see me moving around a lot, I'm uncomfortable. But a lady who attends my live show every Monday is a light worker. And she heard that I didn't have my show Monday for the first time in over 2 years. I missed a Monday, just couldn't do it. So she sends me this private message and she talks about Archangel Michael and Metatron. I've been having to research all these things that I'm totally ignorant of. But the violet flame, tell us about the violet flame and the power of it and how that meditation works.
I don't know anything specifically about a meditation. The violet flame is, depending on who you ask and what lineage you come from and who you're learning from and who your teachers are, it's sort of, it's like your pilot light. So energetically, that, yeah, it keeps your energy on. But there's so many different ways about thinking about energy. You from chakras to, shiatsu lines, acupuncture lines to auras. Like there's just so many different ways of thinking about energy, and violet flame sort of falls into the mix somewhere. I am by no means an expert on violet flame or anything. When I learned Reiki, we learned a little bit about it, but I don't really have any in-depth knowledge about it.
It's fascinating. I looked it up and it's about, they have some meditations that you can do. You set your intention and it talks about how it's also not just guiding light, but it's it can be very healing energy. Mm-hmm. When you set the intention that it can go in and clear out all the other energy. And one of the things I found fascinating, one of the articles I read said, when you finish, make sure and say, thank you. Because if you don't give gratitude, you can stay in that energy of whatever this violet flame is doing. You could actually go create chaos somewhere because you got all this energy going on. That whole world, Max will tell you, she laughs at me all the time. It's very, very, Carol's the pragmatic one. But everybody else, I get to bring in the woo-woo so I can be pragmatic with the woo-woo. One last thought. We got about 60 seconds. Go around the horn. If you were going to leave the people with one last thought, what would it be? Caroline.
Oh, I feel pressured.
We can go to somebody else. Anna.
Yep.
One last thought is this, just to let them know that Anyone can do whatever it is you want to do. And like I said, the first step is to make a decision to cut off all other possibilities, because that's what decision means. The Latin root of decision is incision, to cut off. So once you make a decision, then you have already, you step forward. And when you move forward, you create momentum to your future life.
Awesome, and thank you. How about you, Janet?
For me, it's just to reassure everyone who's listening that it gets better. It doesn't matter what you're going through. It's okay to rest, but don't give up. Keep going, baby steps if you have to, but just know that it gets better.
Thank you. Caroline, have you thought of something yet?
Grilling.
eat the cake. Just tell them, eat cake. No, I'm just kidding.
Exactly. Okay. Yeah. And, actually what stood out to me the most, Carol, was what you said about taking these huge concepts or something that kind of resonates with you or triggers you even, and how can you just break it down into something very small, very tangible that relates to you. So.
Exactly. I get my clients to do 3, I call them bite-sized, digestible, doable steps every day. And then we don't have time to talk about this, but we incorporate the art of celebration from an NLP perspective to really embed that learning in new neural pathways. So yeah, breaking that down makes just a whole lot of sense. So my last thought before we wrap up, first I want to say thank you to Caroline, thank you to Anna, and thank you to Janet. It's been an absolute pleasure. I love interviewing. I just love interviewing, whether you're entrepreneurs or whatever you're doing. I have fun. I didn't know that until COVID hit. See, I would have never known. But my last thought to everybody is we get to trust in the process. So all we have to do is just take the next step. I tell people all the time, God only gave me a lamplight for my feet, because my job is to take the next step and trust in the process. So for each one of you, come back. We're here every Wednesday. Carol's Courage to Confidence segment of the Max and Janetta Jones Intuitive Entrepreneur Show. Look up these ladies. They've got great things to offer. Everybody gets to have a good coach. Thank you, and see you next week.
The Intuitive Entrepreneur Show is hosted by Max and Janetta Jones and is brought to you by Life Coaching Today magazine, empowering your health, business, community, and life. This has been a production of True Awesome Life Productions, who asked, what does your true awesome life look like? Start that journey today at trueawesomelife.com. For more information on this or past episodes, go to theintuitiveentrepreneurshow.com.